Welcome to OSM, Operation Safe Mode, Peace be with you. I wanted to share my most recent health update. The last time that I spoke to you, I was telling you that the bad news was the good news. Able to go into that 13th round of all three chemos, and the most harsh chemo being what they call oxyplatin. Well, when I went for my last treatment, number 14, my white blood cell count was too low to be able to receive the full regimen of my chemotherapy. I had had a cold, the blood count was down to 1,000 and they liked it to be at 15. So what the doctor decided to do was skip the oxyplatin and give me just the two chemos, one at the center and then of course the one I bring home with me. I was kind of disappointed. I felt like I failed by not staying healthy, but really it's been very difficult, as all of you know, just even to get a common cold today with no real immunity because of the past few years. So what I did is I took it as round 14 like Muhammad Ali would do. You know, I took it as, okay, I'm weak right now, I can't take the full batterment of a round of chemo, so I just went into the old rope-a-dope and I just went into a corner and took it and hoping that next week when I was sitting there that we would be back onto our regular regimen. Without the oxyplatin, which will probably be the plan into the future, was really, recovery time was far quicker, the side effects were much less. I'm speaking to you midweek here and I just feel great, I feel strong. So in essence, maybe it was good to give my body a little bit of a break and go into that rope-a-dope and just take it as it is and wait for what comes next. So the plan for this coming Friday will be round 15. The doctor decided that we were not going to do oxyplatin anymore. We're finished with that regimen. He was happy that I was able to do 13. He's just a little concerned about some of the side effects that he feels we could still do without it and stay ahead of the tumors. And then after the 18th treatment and the scans, he will reevaluate my health as well as the shrinkage of the tumors, whether we'll go the radiation route or maybe go back to oxyplatin. We're not going to rule that out, but that's the plan for now. This past week, I've had the opportunity spiritually to share that cross, the burden of the cross, and carrying it as a part of God's plan with three very special people. Last week, the Norwin High School girls basketball team held an event for me. It was purple out. They usually do pink out for breast cancer, but most of the girls on the team know me. They know me because I've been watching them play basketball since they were in second grade because my goddaughter Sarah was playing with them. Many of them are parishioners of mine and I've had the privilege of give them confirmation and teach them. So that group of girls are kind of really close to me and they themselves decided that they wanted Father John to have an event and to raise money for me and to show appreciation for my courage and all their prayers that are coming my way. It was a great event to be with them, and I'm not about those events, but I think it was really important for the community. The monies that were raised donated back to Andrew's Avengers because I really want those young families who need help to be able to have that money because the monetary part of my treatment is not that severe. But the girls were really glad to be with me, and especially, I had the opportunity to share a moment with Savannah Schneck, and she has had two serious knee surgeries from her sophomore into her junior year, and really put in jeopardy her opportunity to share playing basketball with her friends as well as into her future. And I know that she's been so brave through it all, and I know it's faithful through it too. So she gave me a big hug, and I told her, I said, Savannah, I said, God has a plan for us, and his plan will be a plan that we'll be proud to be a part of. And that's why I chose that quote. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. And I hope that gave her some comfort. She is a well-spirited young woman, and I'm proud of her, the way she's handling it. But I really believe there's a purpose to this. Suffering and showing people how you handle it in faith down the road. Those kinds of crosses are going to come again in different forms. And to be young and to be able to trust that next year she's going to have a great senior year and everything's going to be put back in place sports-wise, but she'll grow as a person of faith. And being able to share that personally with her was really meaningful to me. Also, a parishioner of mine, Immaculate Conception, and a good friend of mine for 35 years, I've known Scott Mezar, who had COVID and was in the hospital for several months and is finally back home and in rehabilitation physically. We visited together. And both of us talked about how this is a part of God's plan, that if showing our deep faith and the power of prayer, saved his life, and the power of prayer that's helping me be able to go through my treatment, doesn't necessarily have to be a complete cure just like that. But when people participate in it, and Scott still has a long road to go, we know that we're showing people that this is how you trust in the Lord. You trust in him when it's hard to even just get up and take 10 steps to the bathroom. It's hard to do when you don't breathe the way you wish you could do. But you just say, God has a plan. This part, this suffering, was a part that he wanted us to show and share in. But there will be health that will follow that. And then I had a chance to visit with Bob Brackney, one of our older parishioners, who has always been a super spiritual man for me. And it's funny, when Bob would go to confession to me once a month, as he was in the habit of doing, he'd been to confessional a long time. And I always chuckled to myself thinking, people probably thought, oh man, this guy, he's has tons of sins. But he'd always go to confession, and then he would share a story with me, something that he has read, or something obviously that's been a part of his faith journey. And it was wonderful for me, because it was like spiritual direction for me after he went to confession. Well, I went to his home because he's nearing that hour of death. He's struggling with congestive heart failure. And I came to visit him. And the first thing he said to me, he says, Father John, he says, God has a plan for us. And he's using his cross as the bridge for us to walk in faith into that gift of hope. And then he started sharing with me a story that he was reading about someone who had passed away, and the Blessed Mother's intercession was helping that soul to prepare for heaven. And he reminded me, he said, don't ever forget how important Mass is, the sacrifice of the Mass. Because for the living, the sacrifice of the Mass remains the strength to be able to follow God. The importance of the sacrifice of the Mass for the souls who have departed is a part of them falling and trusting in the hope that they will soon be in the perfection of heaven. So I just wanted to share that with you, that when we all say that we have a time limit, yes we do. God has a plan, and we fulfill that plan, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to help each other. Me help you, you help one another. Never seeing the cross as a burden that we carry alone, but it is the journey towards eternal life.